Hey everyone, and welcome back to our last animation analysis of the year. As always, I'm Epic McSam.
And I am immortal.
And today we'll be looking at the last episode of Death Battle's anniversary season, that being Saitama versus Popeye. And we had we had a lot of good things to say about previous episodes, such as Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, Dio vs. Alucard, and Water versus Aizen. You'll be glad to know we'll be saying a lot of good things for this episode too.
Oh yeah.
With that said, let's get right into the analysis.
First thing I want to point out here, it's Andron.
Man, Scrap's always so
I was not expecting this.
Yeah, and
There's also a lot of things I wasn't expecting in this episode.
Yeah, a lot of people were surprised with how it turned out. We'll get to that later. Also, the hand-drawn is really, really good in this episode. Like, honestly, I think it's the best hand-drawn we've gotten in all of Death Battle.
Better than Afro versus Jack.
It's debatable for that one, but that Jack versus Afro goes for a different style, and at the same time, we can't fully compare the two for certain reasons we'll get to later.
Yeah, it's true.
The setup of the fight is perfect. I know a lot of people, including myself, wanted them to like fight over the last can of spinach, but instead we get a more expensive can of spinach.
expensive. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, it's too expensive. I guess that's a reason to die.
Yeah, the setup's honestly perfect here, because not only does it play into like pop cartoony nature, it also plays into Saitama's nature of, you know, him wanting stuff cheap. He loves sales and everything, you know?
Whatever.
T-pose.
Yeah. Look, every Death's got a high T-pose or a dab at this point.
I'm fine with the dabbing, honestly.
Anyways. I like when Saitama gets those rapid punches, I love how his head bobbles like in a cartoony nature. It fits so well.
I also like how he doesn't really react to the hits much either.
Yeah, it's great. I love how, okay, he's just like, okay. Also, I just love how the wall falls, and that's it. That's all that fell. And then he just fixes it instantly. And another nice touch is just him doing the small like muttering things as he's doing it. It just adds to like the old classic Popeye feel. It's great.
It is.
Like we just started, and I love all the cartoony stuff we get for it. We just started, and we can continue on. Let's go.
Well, blow me down. You ain't got to scratch onions.
I know, right? Overwhelming strength is so boring.
I can't read that.
When I first watched this scene, I legitimately laughed out loud at that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, normally people would be like, "Oh no, he's the death punch," but I just love.
I can't read that.
He can't. I love Popeye. Kaja says, I can't read that. Gets obliterated. It is just
Done. KO!
And then
Just ends here abruptly.
I like how it's not just the limbs that fall, it's just a bunch of random sailor stuff too. Just the cartooning nature's great.
Huh?
And of course, they had to reference the legendary face.
Of course they did.
Actually, I don't know if this part's hand-drawn. It looks like they ripped it straight out of it. It looks like a PNG. And I
It
think,
seems like a redraw.
yeah, it's definitely a redraw, but honestly, it works. It works for the nature of this fight. Also, and there's another small detail. I don't know if people noticed, but the hamburger placed that Popeye in front of his Wimpy's character from Popeye. There's so much little details in the background that you don't see for too long, but you appreciate it when you look at them.
Oh yeah.
Like going back over here.
Okay.
If you notice, the sound effect when Popeye rushes forward with a punch is something many might find familiar.
Okay.
It's the Dragon Ball teleport sound.
Nice.
Moving on.
A little bit more interesting now.
Also, another bit is like this initial punch, both of their fists are on fire. It also takes enough time to just show the destruction from just one punch, one cross counter punch. Like you can see like the destruction in the background and the cracks in the ground. It's great.
And how they're both just visually just completely fine.
Yeah.
I guess that cut right there was a bit jarring.
To just him punching from the side.
Yeah.
I think that kind of fits with the nature, considering Popeye's a cartoon, and he can just do stupid things. But it is a bit jarring, but at the same time, this one's one of the more forgivable examples. Like, unlike, say, like a missing scene, like, you know how, like, for example...
Or Akuma punching Shao Kahn.
Yeah, like that, or Madara versus Aizen, where right after Madara knocks Aizen away, a meteor just gets split in half and suddenly he's in his final form, like that. This one is more forgivable because it's like the cartoon thing. Also, I love this. Also, of course, they had to get it. Of course.
Oh, god damn it.
There's a small ding sound when it happens too.
They're both unfazed.
Also, another detail I like here is how during the rapid punch scene, Popeye, you can see like his body and shoulders moving as well as his head, but Saitama's just standing there and the punches are just going.
You can also see, like, I think it's 100-ton weight when Popeye's punching.
Yeah. Also, another small detail that I gotta appreciate is when Saitama delivers the punch, like he's more cartoony style here, but when the punch is delivered, his art style shifts to a more dynamic style.
I think it's just overall a bit rougher style.
Yeah, it's a really nice detail to like show when he's being a bit more serious here and there. And of course, Saitama being rubber. And then we get to...
Okay. This is something I've always wanted out of a fight. Originally, I wanted it most with Strange versus Fate. But here, I've always wanted a fight to switch animation styles. Specifically go from like a 2D style to a 3D style. But this is still fun.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, also, the transition's really good. Because it actually has like small like shockwave to like act as the transition, and not only that, when the animation switches, so does the music. It switches to more like retro sounding like video game-ish, and so does the sound effects. That's a really neat detail. And like they treat it like an old video game. I love it.
I'm just a guy who's a hero for fun. Who the hell are you?
Yep, I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
Well, he pulled a Steven.
And then the ink switches it back into like the hand-drawn style, which I love.
What do you know? How am I gonna get back home?
Yeah, I'm gonna get back down.
And of course, he just yeets up a chunk of the earth and the ocean. And then we get to another transition.
This one, I'm not the biggest fan of for one reason.
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
not because of Saitama. Like, Saitama looks good.
Yeah, Saitama's
but...
model looks fantastic, because I believe it's ripped straight from his fighting game. I forgot what it was called.
Hero Nobody Knows.
Yeah, I think it's
called.
ripped from there, which looks good. But then we get the Popeyes, which is a little more decisive and more will probably be on the more like you know. Well, let's just get to it and you'll see.
I do not like it.
You see, the thing is, I'll just go like right before Popeye. You see, the thing is, the Popeye model is. I don't believe they have any like actual decent looking models with Popeye's more cartoony. So they went with, I believe there's a certain art out there. I actually have it in saved somewhere. I'll probably put it up on the screen in editing. Of Popeye with like a more in this style, like a little less hyper realistic. But it's a reference to that piece of art in particular.
Still just looks wrong considering all we've seen from Popeye.
It does look a bit jarring, but at the same time, I'm willing. Well, I'm not unlike some other people. I'm also not like a big fan of the model, but at the same time, I'm willing to let it slide because I don't know if Popeye's cartoony model would work well. That and the fight itself is still really good, so I'm willing to let this one slide.
Yeah, for me, just seeing this model looking drastically different compared to how we see him in both the hand-drawn and even the
it's a huge shift compared to like how Popeye's sprites and like hand-drawn design look, so it could be a bit jarring there too. Yeah, it does fit into the absurd nature. Like, while some people can consider it bad, there's plenty of reasons for like why they went with this.
And still like it.
Honestly, well, right there though, I swear to God, because this is, I believe Devil Artemis animated this part. I swear to God, this face is probably a reference to some kind of meme or something.
I think it's just a smile.
It just looks like, you know, the like yes guy. Kind of reminds me of that.
Chad, yes.
The Chad, yes, yeah. It kind of reminds me of that. You're just gonna show up in the. It's like you're not gonna do Galactus versus Unicron as the finale. Yes.
God damn it. I'm kind of glad we didn't get that as a finale, but moving on.
In hindsight, it'll probably fit for next season, which we'll discuss some stuff later. But anyways, and Saitama getting
this shot looks gorgeous.
Saitama being serious, the ground tearing up behind him as well as just like energy or light or whatever, just lighting him up. With that lighting is fantastic. This looks so this is one thing a lot of people pointed out, like Nemesis also pointed this out. If you're doing a One Punch Man fight, you can't screw up the cool dynamics. Like Mob vs. Tatsu did it somewhat decently. Genos vs. War Machine didn't really have that many dynamic shots or anything. But this, they got the One Punch Man style down perfectly.
Like it just looks good.
Yeah, and then boom. Oh, and I love this. Death Punch again, but spinach. I want to know, did they actually go who had to go and actually learn kanji or go to a Google Translator to like find what spinach would look like in this style? I want to know. And then before we get into right after the punch, and then we get into something that I absolutely love for the fight.
Amazing! This is amazing! How did you get so strong?
Just that's part of it. We'll get to the second bit later, but also I just love Popeye's answer.
It's me spinach.
And just and the funny thing is, it's set up to make it think like he's gonna throw Saitama into the planet, right? Nope. Right into the screen with the funny face, and it shatters. I love that so much.
Can we just have them both come out of the fight itself and just beat up Boomstick and Wiz?
And we got to and this is a really cool transition. How it starts off like super simplistic, but then Saitama dropping down just brings in the color and the like 3D elements. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right here. This looks really beautiful, but this is my favorite part of the fight. Just what Saitama starts saying here.
Can this be? My heart's beating so fast. My muscles ache. I can feel them again.
Also, I want to point out, I'll point out this detail later, like I'll finish the monologue first.
That's all I can stand, 'cause I can't stand no more.
I never thought it would happen. A serious fight. I found it! Thank you, weird spinach mascot.
That's something I was hoping Death Bell did right. Like, I initially had worries, like, say, like, back during, like, Dio vs. Alucard, my biggest worry for the fight was actually them instead of having the more serious Alucard, they just went with, like, abridged Alucard, or in Dio's case, they just made him completely just memes. They did it. They got their characters right to canon, and that's another thing I'm really happy they did for the fight. They didn't just treat Saitama as a joke character that can just beat everything in one punch. They actually go into his struggle. They understand his character and implement it into the fight. That's really well done. I'm glad they went the extra mile to do that.
Same here. Like, the fact that they're able to get, like, their characterization on point is just phenomenal.
Another detail, when they kick off towards fight, when Popeye, when he kicks off the sun, it just comically bounces off away, circles away. But when Saitama bounces off, the planet explodes, which perfectly fits.
There's also
the cartoony nature and the more serious and destructive nature.
And how the sound of it is muffled, too.
Because it's in space. Yeah, and if you notice, Saitama doesn't actually...
He doesn't move his mouth.
Yeah, he doesn't move his mouth. It's all an inner monologue because in canon, while yeah, Saitama can survive in space, he does need to still breathe like a normal person does. It's another neat little detail.
Yeah.
Which then again, you could argue does get negated when he does open his mouth to talk in the 3D part, but...
Thought it would happen. A serious fight. I found it! Thank you, weird spinach mascot.
And just like punch I love how the punch actually shatters reality.
Spinach mascot?
Like, as soon as the punch hits, everything goes white. And then everything else is black and white. It's really not well done.
Do you think this was an artistic choice, or do you think they just did this to save on time?
I think it's a mix of both. But yeah, and then we get to the finisher. It's not an explosion death as many would have thought. He is now Egg. Because they implemented another thing I did like is like well, I'm not going to take the verdict into account, obviously, but I want to say it is shown in detail here, because I believe in the verdict they mention Saitama should technically be, like, honestly, if they go into it, Saitama has like the raw strength advantage by technicality, so Popeye beats him via his ability to punch things into other objects. And of course, since it's Popeye, we gotta end it with...
He took a big gamble, but now he is scrambled. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
That... Man, that is just... Okay, I need to choose a... I need to choose a frame on where to leave it. What frame should we leave it paused on?
The original death thing. Like the death kanji.
Of him right before it hits him in the face?
Yeah.
Alright.
I can't read that.
I can't read that.
There.
Whoops, a little too 50. I'll just have him, like, once he puts his hands on his lips. There we go. This is a meme template waiting to happen, I swear. But yeah,
this episode is really good.
it blew all my expectations out of the water. I love this episode.
Going in, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Because I believe they didn't even show a preview for this.
Yeah, they did not have a preview for it on the Death Battle cast, no.
But I am pleasantly surprised by this. I really like this. The comedy in the fight is great. The characterization is great. It has a better sense of destruction than you know what.
And honestly, I think just the only real drag I think in the episode is the opinion on the Popeye model. Like, some people can find it funny, some people can find it ugly. But even then, that's honestly the only real complaint you can have for the animation.
I have another complaint.
Yeah?
I'm not big on the 3D part of this as a whole. So there's something off about it. Popeye's model aside, I think kind of drags it down for me.
It doesn't drag it down for me, but again, it's all opinion. Well, with that all said, I honestly feel like there's a... Hold on, before we get into it, Balderdash, first off, is a really good song. It starts off with, like, the more One Punch Man sounding rock theme, and then it just shifts into different styles as it gets into, like, different parts of the fight. It's a really nice detail.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice...
And I think it handles it better than, say, something like Iron Fist vs. Poe did.
Well, you could argue this Balderdash is pretty much made for the fight, like, with the way it sounds. It doesn't feel as, like, limiting, you could say.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Oh, and the voice acting was really good, too.
Oh, yeah, it was. Whoever voiced Saitama, props to you. You did great.
Yeah, Ryan Abidi, I think. He does a spot-on impression of Saitama's dub voice actor Max Middleman. And Liam does a pretty decent Popeye. I think the only difference is that Liam's version doesn't sound as much as a Smoker, but at the same time that works. Because you could argue Popeye's voice acting didn't have to be the absolute top quality due to how he sounded in the original cartoons and everything. But at the same time, Liam did a really good job, which is... I'm really... It was really good. With that said...
Yeah.
I'm personally willing to give this episode a 10 out of 10, at least in my opinion.
I will give it a 9.5.
So then we meet in the middle for a 9.75. God damn it, we're going in decibels again. But yeah, like, the only real issue is, like, in the 3D segments. Everything else is just, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've talked to Mortal about this before when we were, like, discussing some of the other episodes. The first half of Season 8 had a lot of, like, decent episodes, but none of them really, like, hit it out of the park, unfortunately. But then the second half
from, like, maybe Mickey versus
Mickey versus Yoda and maybe Link versus Cloud's rematch. But then we get to the second half, then we have Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, Dio versus Alucard, Madara versus Aizen, and this. For the best episodes of this season, arguably some of the best episodes in all of Death Battle.
Which are in my top 10 favorites.
Yeah, it's insane just how much the... What's also funny is that half of the quality of the second half of Season 8 is also kind of meh to bad. So they put all their effort into 4 different episodes, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this is, again, this was an amazing episode, and honestly, this was a really great finale. Like, it's up there with some of the other ones.
If I can be honest here, I don't think it tops my favorite finale. Like, All Might versus Might Guy, it doesn't come close to topping that for me, honestly.
Yeah, I can understand. I can perfectly understand that, because that one was even more of a good natured. Like, this one did have moments like that, especially like Saitama finally finding a worthy fight and everything. But compared to All Might versus Might Guy having the good vibes all around, this one just didn't have as much, you know?
Yeah.
With that said, this was again really good episode, and I'm honestly excited to see what Death Battle brings in next time around.
And apparently, from the preview,
So from the preview, we got Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, Tetsuo from Akira, Jinx from League of Legends. I don't think anyone can decide if they saw Boba Fett or the Mandalorian, and then Vegeta.
And I pray to God Vegeta does not fight Thor or another Marvel DC character.
That's the terrifying part, is that we might actually get Vegeta versus Thor, and I want to actually... You know, remember back when we thought Marvel versus non-DC characters were fun? I want them to stop. I want them to stop now.
Please, just make Vegeta fight anyone else. I'll take a match he fucking loses if it's just not that.
Honestly, we don't need Thor to come back for a third episode. His first
Or at
episode
least
was
not
good.
this soon.
His second episode was... Okay, we're not talking about the second episode, but we don't want him to come back for a... Honestly, I think it's not even just Marvel versus non-DC. I think it's just Marvel versus Dragon Ball. The comics versus Dragon Ball.
It's just boring.
Yeah, honestly, if Vegeta does come back, I hope it's against a good opponent. And as for the others, we're definitely getting Jinx is probably fighting Harley Quinn. Tanjiro's almost definitely fighting Jonathan from JoJo. And I'm trying to, and also a Scarlet Witch, who's probably fighting Zatanna, though she should have probably fought Raven the first time around instead of Raven playing Twilight Sparkle.
Man.
But honestly, I'm excited for next season.
Yeah, same.
With that all said,
I just hope they can keep up the quality
if
of
they
the
keep up this
highest
level
tier.
of quality, I'll be happy. With that all said, thank you for joining me in Immortal for another episode of Animation Analysis. We'll obviously be taking quite a bit of a break until the new season starts, but in the meantime, feel free to actually comment down below if you want us to go back to some episodes before Batman vs. Iron Man that you want us to try analyzing.
Yes, please. It would give us an excuse to look at Blake versus Mikasa.
Anyways, with that said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Till next time, actually. Bye!
Yeah.